Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic:
which celebrity has tricked everyone into thinking they're a good person? Dolly Parton tricked everyone into thinking she's good. Those who've read anything about her know she's great. Boy, I was about to wish you well in the afterlife, right up to the end. I don't believe in an afterlife. Dolly is going to heaven. Oprah. The Behind the Bastards podcast did a 6-episode deep dive into how much she sucks. It's pretty awesome, but the TLDR is promotes pseudoscience that causes a unique combination of public health risk and abusive, manipulative relationships. Examples include Drive, Fill per ounce, those idiotic teen boot camps that were actually rape and death camps, and culturally appropriating assholes, like that one guy who didn't understand how sweat lodges work and killed someone. Oprah did a lot of damage, primarily because we confused media savvy with smart as a culture. Edit, almost forgot about anti-vaccine movements. Oprah helped those a lot. I remember one Oprah episode where she rolled her eyes when a guest suggested addiction was a disease. Right then I had a hunch she was ignorant. My motto is if Oprah endorses someone, run in the other direction. Warren Buffett and several others testified to Congress some years ago to lobby for higher, adequate taxes for the rich. They approached her to ask her to participate, and she said no. She said she wanted nothing to do with it. That by itself gives you clear indication of the person she is. She was friends with Harvey Weinstein, so yeah. Bill Cosby had us all fooled for so long. Must be 30 plus years ago that a story was published about Bill being a mentor to a female swimmer here in Canada. The young lady said he was so supportive, but one day when they were alone, he started groping her and trying to kiss her. Her dad believed her and tried to expose Cosby, but no one believed him. I showed my parents the article and they didn't believe me either. So ever since the early 90s I've known he was a predator. From Toronto. I remember that story and it didn't gain traction because of Cosby's reputation. I will never not be heartbroken by him betraying the world. Neil Gaiman. This one really sucked. It was a bit funny, in an annoying way, when I put my copy of Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman away in the basement and brought out another Norse mythology book I hadn't read yet, only to see a Gaiman quote on the cover. That one was just awful. One of my favorite authors and audiobook narrators, and I just can't even think of hearing his voice without being disgusted. Unrelated to good people, it was a wild ride when I found out the original Star Wars audiobooks were mostly narrated by Ed Kemper as part of a community service project for the blind. My friend saw him at a party a week before the news of this broke. My friend approached him to tell him how much of a fan I was. Instead of just being nice and saying thank you, Neil took my friend's phone and sent me a video of himself in appreciation for my support of his work. His fall hit me hard. But fuck him. Time to read something else. He knows exactly how to present himself as the persona we all loved. I'm sorry. Sad face. People know what a sick fucking monster he is now, but at the time Jimmy Savile. It makes me mad to think he died a cultural icon and beloved public figure. He never got to live to see any consequence for any of his crimes because he was so protected. My daughter's generation, born around 2000, use Jimmy Savile as a term to describe someone a bit creepy. She asked me a question that I haven't really been able to answer, which is, how did we not know he was wrong? I mean, we did know he was wrong. My mentor was a film cameraman at the BBC and he would film the inserts of that Jim had fixed it for, and he and the director would warn parents not to allow their children to visit Savile in his dressing room. There was a joke on Drop the Dead Donkey where someone says, have you heard the rumor? And the reply, if it's about Jimmy Savile I don't want to hear it. There is a highly believable story that Alistair Milne was served a notice by a legal firm informing him of multiple issues by a junior researcher who had been moved off Savile's programs because had expressed concerns about his behavior. She was pushed out of the BBC and became a producer and then an exec at one of the independents. After the legal notice she was paid off. There is another story that I know for a 100% certainty is true. Biddy Baxter, who basically was Blue Peter for 30 years, very much a love-hate figure, would not allow him to be in the building when they had children, young people in the building. I worked on Blue Peter. I liked Biddy. Lots of people didn't, but she took protection of children, young people very seriously. 35 years ago he background checks for staff were pretty much the same as working in children's TV today, i.e., very. Someone told me that the children in need people were the same as Biddy. Sounds like people knew he was wrong, but didn't have any power or support to actually act on it. So they did their best to filter his contact to people. Good opportunity to explain power structures and how making it easier to report things can have a huge impact. Dr. Phil. I think they revoked his license. So that would make him Phil. Quote, no, he still had his doctorate. Your university grants you that. Meanwhile his state, Texas, terminated his license to practice in that state as a psychologist. Those are two different things. He can still use his title as Dr. Have worked with Ryan Reynolds on 2 different commercials separated by some time in between. The man is horrible, soulless, heartless, jerk who is mean to everyone, well, those who aren't rich, for no reason. I know that no one here is going to believe me, but one day it will come out that he very successfully fools the public with his 2 faces. I think it already coming out as there have been numerous cases in the media. He will get exposed soon and rightly so. Ryan Reynolds has always given me big Dennis Reynolds vibes. Also, it always amazed me how quickly and willingly people were to forget his early filmography once he became Deadpool and everyone decided we all collectively love him now. What was so damning about his early filmography? The guy may be a terrible person, but having a slew of shitty movies is hardly something to hold against someone. Kris Jenner. She's branded herself as business genius and momager when in reality she is a money-hungry pimp. There's a reason Diddy kept her in close company for all those years. Didn't she start a church to launder money and not pay taxes? I don't like the lady or her dynasty, but respect for starting a church as a tax loophole. Should probably start taxing churches, you guys. Removed. She quite literally pimps her daughters out, and Kim is starting to do the same with her daughter. I'll never forget that episode of KUWTK where they went to Austria to go to a ball. Kim was a whole ass escort there. She got paid to accompany someone with her mom in the background. Who knows what they did when cameras weren't rolling. Pimps her daughters out. Kris chose which version of Kim's sex tape to leak, lol. The funny thing is the entire family make no effort to hide that they're terrible people. Their fans are just superficial, so they don't care. Even when Kim's sex tape came out, Kris made jokes about being her pimp. Their outrageous behavior is why we still talk about any of them. It was the public that branded Kris as some marketing genius. I think 2 things can be true: they're great at marketing themselves, keeping themselves relevant, and they're also bad people. I think that's the general consensus about them, which is why they're famous but not necessarily well liked. For many years, Ashton Kutcher. Weird how all these protect the kids people turn out to be creeps. That's why I do as little to protect children as possible. Wait a minute. Absolutely cannot like any person who supports a convicted rapist or anyone in Scientology. Scientology is sick. Whatever fans he has left are weirdos. It sucks because I truly enjoyed that 70s show as a kid, teen. Absolutely adored it and all the characters. Then Danny Masterson started sucking and soon after Laura Prepon. And I was like, yeah, alright, it's just 2 people. I can still watch it and not feel like I'm supporting something shitty. Then Wilmer Valderrama was shown to be a creep, and then pretty much the entire fucking cast came to Danny's defense in the last few years. There's one respectable main cast member left from that show, Topher Grace. And it is now abundantly clear why he kept his distance from the rest of them. Either he knew they were all fucked, or he just had a bad feeling about them. Either way, the rest of them all suck for ruining that show for me, and especially for ruining the lives of so many. Edit, since people keep asking. Wilmer did borderline pedophile shit, grooming young girls. Danny is a rapist. Laura supported Danny and helped silence his victims. Both are also Scientologists. Kurtwood Smith, Deborah Jo Rupp, Ashton Kutcher, and Mila Kunis all supported Danny and wrote letters about his excellent character asking for leniency, acquittal. Topher Grace, as I've unfortunately learned today, is super close with Wilmer. I don't know of anything specific he's done, but that does change my opinion of him. Ellen. But has she actually tricked us? I think it is well known she's a horrible person. She was very successful at it for decades. Through her stand-up career and sitcom, she seemed like a pleasant, wholesome young woman. OJ prior to September 26, 94. Did anyone know he was a wife-beater before that? Edit, the 6th of December 1994. The LAPD did 36 calls to his residence before she was killed. Watch, OJ, Made in America, it's an incredible doc. No, it was incredibly shocking that OJ of all PPL would be a murderer. He was anodyne, a public figure, as you could imagine. It would be like Bill Cosby being a serial rapist. Or worse, a hypocrite. Tyra Banks. America's Next Top Model, found out later, was so toxic. She always seems to get out right before things turn to shit. Some I can't explain, but she seems really unpleasant. I miss the soup with Joel McHale. He would rip into Tyra Banks every week for being narcissistic and cruel. Well deserved TBH. There was a segment I remember where he called her out on giving Miley Cyrus a portrait of herself at 16, making a huge deal about how she was discovered at 16, I think, for Miley's 16th birthday, which was this huge blowout with a parade at Walt Disney World. He was like, how can someone possibly take this insanely narcissistic party and still manage to make it about themselves? Exclamation mark quote. That one episode where the girls were done up as animals. The big girl was an elephant. Everyone else were gazelle, lions or flamingos. Mean-spirited. She put that one girl in a coffin as a dead person after she just found out someone very close to her had died. Those producers are evil. And she wasn't even big. Kenya was probably a size 6 or 8. I vividly remember the editing, too. Whenever they filmed her eating bread or something, they'd play that stereotypical funny tuba music associated with fat people. I'm not sure how else to describe it. Does anyone else know what I'm talking about? Smiling face with tear, but anyways, yeah, F the 2000s. ETA, music like this sad face. You could tell watching ANTM how much she loved forcing these beautiful young women to shave their heads or cut off almost all of their hair to stay on the show. At least one girl always cried. Fucking psycho. She had one girl undergo unnecessary cosmetic dentistry to yank out healthy teeth to emphasize the girl's cheekbones. That's some horror show shit. And then she would mock them for crying. She mistreated all the contestants on ANTM. I'm surprised that show did as well as it did considering it was a public bullying spectacle. That's why it did so well. The reality TV boom was all about public humiliation.